Hello, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Welcome to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. By liking, you hit the bell icon, the thumbs up, and then you hit the bell icon to subscribe and share. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. We'd like to start now with Bible verses. In Matthew 18, verse 6, "But whoso shall fear one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he was drowned in the depth of the sea." Matthew 18, verse 10, "Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven." Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips a balance in favor of fair use. So good to see you. Thanks for coming. Amen. Glad you found your Bible. Hey there, Jackie. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Thank y'all both for coming. Welcome, everyone. Sure, a lot of y'all heard this case, but I'm going over the different ones so that it can be presented to everyone who does not know about this case. Cairo Ammar Jordan was a 5-year-old boy who was found in a suitcase in Indiana. Without further ado, in a few minutes, I'll have to end up muting my mic because there's going to be videos I'm sure y'all's going to want to watch. And let me bring it here. This boy was found dead in Washington County, was inside a suitcase, police say. This was April the 19th, 2022, when the news article. Police have released new information about a little boy found dead by mushroom hunters in Washington County Saturday. After opening a toll-free tip line on Monday, police reported receiving around 200 calls from the public. Unfortunately, police said none of these calls had led to the identification of the child. The child was previously described as a black male, about 4 feet tall, with a slim build and a short haircut. Police believe he's approximately 5 years old and that his death occurred sometime in the last week. Somebody was taking care of him. He was in somebody's custody and cared for his daily needs and for support, said Sergeant Kerry Holtz in a news conference Monday. Indiana State Police revealed on Tuesday evening that the boy was tragically found inside a closed, hard-case suitcase with a distinctive Las Vegas design on the front and back. Police hope that anyone with information about this briefcase will come forward and help identify the child, which we have him identified now. But we're not going to get into that at the moment. Let me go ahead and start video. I need to put in there the trigger warnings because it's going to, everybody that cares about children, loves children. There we go. I put trigger warning at the bottom of the screen. Let me change the settings. You will not be able to hear me. So please, would y'all give me a thumbs up if you hear the audio after I start the video?
We're asking for those tips that might come in about somebody who's not been reported, that they may know this child or think they know. I realize we don't have a photo or an image at this point, but they may say that fits the description of the boy who lived next door that we haven't seen for a few days, or there's an odd situation with a certain family or a school or something, and hey, it could possibly be this child, so maybe we should call the state police.
Okay, please put a 1 if you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Please put a 1. Please put a 1. I need to make sure that this is put right when you get to full screen. Here we go. Somebody was taking care of him. Hotline set up after the little boy found dead in Washington County. This was April the 19th, 2022. This is an archive article, and the information article may be outdated. Please look at the timestamp on the story to see when it was last updated. It was last updated April the 19th, 2022 as well. In Sellersburg, Indiana, days after a young boy was found dead in southern Indiana, police had few answers to offer. Sergeant Kerry Hulse with Indiana State Police said a national hotline had been created to generate tips in a case, which they already know who he is now. A mushroom hunter called 911 after finding the boy's body around 7:30 p.m. Saturday near a road in a heavily wooded area of eastern Washington County. Investigators from the Washington County Sheriff's Department responded, and ISP detectives were called in. The child was described as a black male, about 4 feet tall, and a slim build and a short haircut. Police believe he's between the ages of 5 and 8. His death occurred sometime in the last week. This is a 5 to 8-year-old young man, Ho said during a news conference Monday. Somebody was taking care of him. He was in somebody's custody and care for his daily needs and for support. Ho said investigators haven't reached any information about a missing child matching the little boy's description. He said it's possible the boy may be from another state, which he basically was. Somebody knows something. Somebody out there knows the answer to this question, Hull said. Investigators decided to withhold the information about the child's clothing, Hull said. An autopsy was scheduled. So we go to the next article. What we know about the boy whose body was found in a suitcase in southern Indiana. This was also April the 20th, 2022. It was updated. This was at 9:22 a.m. and then updated at 4:14 p.m. In Sellersburg, Indiana, the death of a little boy in southern Indiana garnered national attention after the police revealed his body was inside a suitcase. The weekend discovery in Washington County has baffled local investigators who set up a tip line and released disturbing new details. Here's what we got so far. According to Sergeant Kerry Hulse with Indiana State Police, a mushrooms hunter found the boy's body Saturday night near a heavily wooded area in Washington County. The location was about 80 feet from a rural road. The mushroom hunter called 911, leading to the current investigation. Polls revealed Tuesday that the boy was found inside a suitcase. What are police saying about the suitcase? The suitcase has prominent Las Vegas logos wrapped around it. Investigators said it appeared to be in good condition. The child was found inside a suitcase that was sealed. He did not put himself there and wind up approximately 80 feet off the road in a wooded area by himself, Bull said. Bull said police initially withheld information about the suitcase to protect the investigation. Here it is right here, y'all. Poor little boy. There's information, obviously, that we've known from the very get-go, the beginning. You relay. What can we say at this time? What we can't. We want the validity of the investigation to stay intact and to not do anything that's going to alter the investigation, Paul said. We feel comfortable at this time letting the public know about the suitcase. Police released the image of the suitcase in hopes of getting more tips. It was a very distinct suitcase, Hall said. We're hoping that would jog someone's memory to say, hey, I seen that suitcase before. How did we know? What do we know about the boy? He said the victim is approximately 5 years old. He's described as black male. He's about 4 foot tall, with slim build and short hair. Police had previously said they believed the boy was between the ages of 5 and 8, but they're now confident he is around 5. Investigators are convinced he was killed within the last week. We still believe the death occurred within the past week. The child was in good condition as far as circumstances go. Based on the dental condition, the teeth were clean, in good shape. There's nothing we can go off there to identify, but he appeared well cared for. The autopsy was completed Tuesday. Paul said there was no definitive answer for the cause of death. Investigators are now waiting for toxicology results, which can take up to 6 weeks. Does the boy's description fit an established case involving a missing child? So far, police said the boy doesn't appear to be a match for any known case involving a missing child. They believe they're trying to identify a child who hasn't yet been reported missing. All those documented missing children cases you see on websites, we're aware of them, Poe said. We tie into those databases too. We're talking with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. All those types of things. We have that information in front of us. It's the information on that child who's not on that list that we're looking for. Poe said if this is a case involving a missing child that is even a remotely close uh, match, they're confident they already have that information and don't need additional tips in those cases. What's the tip line? To end up here, I just don't think you pick that at random. Why there? Said Doug Coons with veracity. Former FBI agent Doug Coons, who is not connected to the case, said because the body was found in such a remote, wooded area, investigators were likely trying to figure out why that location would have been used to dispose of the body. It's a very rural area. It's the end of a dead-end street. Purely speculation on my part, but I would think it's someone familiar with the area. Of course, until the victim is identified, it'd be hard for investigators to figure out who is responsible for the death. You're kind of feeling around in the dark on something like this at first. It's a tough one. I wish them the best of luck. So we read this, but they have got a video up here. So I would need uh, to change this where y'all could hear the audio again.
Our top story at 4, Indiana State Police trying to figure out what happened to a young boy found dead inside this suitcase. He was found in southern Indiana.
The case is gaining national attention now because there's no indication of where the child may have come from, just that he wound up there in Washington, Indiana. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zach Myers.
And I'm Beershel Edmay. As Fox 59's Jesse Wells tells us, missing person reports aren't giving any answers.
Indiana State Police released this picture of a distinctive Las Vegas-style suitcase in the hopes of generating more information about the victim. The boy found inside the suitcase is described as being about 5 years old, about 4 feet tall, with a slim build and short hair. Unfortunately, investigators are not sure if that victim is even from Indiana or not. Walking through the woods about 80 feet off the road in Washington County, state police claim a mushroom hunter found a boy's body Saturday night and called 911. Several days later, the victim's name remains a mystery.
Our main goal right now is to identify this young man, give him a voice.
State police say the boy's body was found inside this closed hard-shell suitcase. Investigators believe the victim died sometime in the last week, although an autopsy did not provide a definitive cause of death.
I just don't think you pick that at random. Why there?
Former FBI agent Doug Coons, who is not connected to the case, says because the body was found in such a remote wooded area, investigators will likely try to figure out why that location would have been used to dispose of the body.
It's a very rural area. It looks like it's at the end of a dead-end street. Purely speculation on my part, but I would have to think it's somebody that's familiar with the area.
So far, state police have received around 500 calls and have searched databases nationwide, like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. But investigators now think the victim inside the suitcase may be someone who has not been reported missing.
If it's somebody who's already listed on the National Children's Child's Missing list, probably not the direction we're going to go because those things have been looked at already.
You're kind of feeling around in the dark on something like this at first. Yeah, it's just a tough one. I wish them the best of luck.
Finally, anyone with information on the victim is encouraged to contact Indiana State Police. Investigators have set up a nationwide tip line for this case specifically. Jesse Wells, Fox 59 News.
Meanwhile,
Hey, can you hear me? Testing. Okay, so here's the cause of death. Death right here. Investigators released the cause of death. The child found in the suitcase. And this was May 27th, 2022. So I'm putting it in the order of the news reportings. Thank y'all. Detectives and investigators with Indiana State Police received an official autopsy and toxicology report regarding the unidentified child that was found dead in a suitcase in Washington County on April the 16th. The investigation began Saturday, April the 16th, when an area resident found the body of the child while mushroom hunting in a heavily wooded area of eastern Washington County. The child was found inside of a suitcase with a distinctive Las Vegas design on the front and back. It was found approximately 80 feet from Holder Road. The official autopsy report claims that the child's death is due to electrolyte imbalance, most likely from viral gastroenteritis. The blood toxicology report came back negative, and the report further states there was an absence of significant traumatic injuries, advising there was no anatomical cause of death. After the results were released, police had no evidence to believe that the child was alive when placed in the suitcase and that the child was clothed and clean. Investigators have not been able to identify the child, but believe it is approximately 5 years old. The child is also described by police as a young black male, approximately 4 feet tall, slim build, and short hair. Go to the next one. This was June the 2nd, 2022. Angel, as well is what we will call him, unnamed body found dead in southern Indiana, laid to rest. Here is his thing, but we will play that in a few minutes. They didn't know his name or what brought him to Indiana. They wanted him to know. In death, he hasn't been forgotten. Mourners gather Wednesday for a memorial service in Salem, Indiana for the unknown angel, whose identity remains elusive. Chaplain Todd Murphy with the Washington County Sheriff's Office said donations from local residents and businesses covered the expenses. Flowers and stuffed animals were placed atop the boy's casket. The little boy, believed to be 5 years old, was found by a mushroom hunter in Washington County in April. His body had been placed inside a distinctive Las Vegas suitcase. Last week, investigators revealed he died due to electrolyte imbalance, most likely from a viral gastroenteritis. The boy is a black male, approximately 4 feet tall, with slim build and short hair. But the mystery of his death was not what brought mourners to Weather's funeral home. They wanted to honor his life and grieve as a community. Oh man, I'm starting to cry, sorry. Hello everybody who's here, thanks for coming. This unknown angel has been beloved by Washington County, the chaplain said, so Angel is what we will call him. Look at what Angel has done for the community, said Sergeant Matt Hine, among the first to respond at the scene in April. We never knew him in life, but he has drawn us together with love and kindness. Angel was buried at Crown Hill Cemetery in Salem with a marker bearing the image of an angel and the inscription in love and memory of a beloved little boy known but to God. Sleep in the arms of Jesus. So the video probably say the same information, but I'll mute my mic again just so that y'all be able to hear their words. Yes, it is very sad.
Missing from his tombstone. The Washington County community says this 5-year-old child is their angel, as dozens came to pay their respects and say their final goodbyes.
Since this all took place, I've asked myself numerous times, why?
Standing beside a baby blue casket covered in stuffed animals and flowers.
We never knew him in life, but he has drawn us together with love and kindness.
Sergeant Matt Hine, the first officer on the scene on April 16th.
It makes me proud to live in this community and to serve it and to protect it.
Was one of many trying to cope with the unthinkable loss during a public funeral held for the unknown child.
This unknown angel has been adopted and beloved by Washington County. So Angel is what we will call him through the service today.
The boy, called Angel, was found dead from severe dehydration inside a suitcase in New Pekin, Indiana.
There are no words to describe who would do that to a child.
It's hard. It's hard. You're supposed to be in school. You're supposed to be playing games. You're supposed to be jumping rope. And you were robbed of that. You were robbed of that.
As the community works to find answers.
I think everybody should get involved. Everybody should care. Doesn't matter. This little boy was 5 years old. We got to care.
Many are finding comfort in one another.
Because maybe you don't know someone, that doesn't mean that you can't love them or can't care about them.
Coming together in prayer.
Amen and amen.
And song. To remember a life gone too soon.
It gave me the example or what love truly looks like. I've seen more than just that luggage from Vegas, but I've seen a whole community of love.
The special tip line created just for this case is still very active. Police are urging anyone with information to call 1-888-437-6432. In Salem, Grace Haba, WDRB News.
Justice do turn, and we do make progress, and so we have information today regarding the case that we're thankful that we're able to come here with that information today and keep moving forward to answer a lot of questions and, again, to ask for your assistance. So I'm just going to, well, with me today, I'm Sergeant Kerry Halls, the Public Information Officer for the Sellersburg Post, Indiana State Police. With me today is Tara Coates Hunt. She's the Deputy Prosecutor with the Washington County Prosecutor's Office. Again, this is a Washington County, Indiana case, and their office will be handling it, as well as the lead detective in this case, Detective Matt Busick from the Indiana State Police here in Sellersburg. Also have Sheriff Brent Miller from the Washington County Sheriff's Department with us today, and we're just thankful for the support of everybody here. Just a brief overview on this case. April 16th of this year, 2022, a young child was found deceased in a very distinctive suitcase on Holder Road in southeast Washington County near Pekin, Indiana. Holder Road is a dead-end road. It's very isolated, not heavily traveled at all. That was back on April 16th again. At that time, when we were first notified of the child being discovered, very little information was there for our units, our detectives, our officers to work with. There were no witnesses, there were no family members, there were no acquaintances that came forward with any type of information. We only had what we had there at the scene, and that was it. We had worked almost instantaneously with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and any leads from that also proved unsuccessful. No matches to any child that was listed as missing. We had thousands of tips. We did have a dedicated tip line that's still open. Thousands of tips have come in over the past months. Again, this has been approximately 6 months since April 16th on that tragic morning or evening. Thousands of tips came in. Unfortunately, none of those tips were associated with this case. But we are very grateful for those tips that came in. We're grateful for the public's interest in this case, obviously wanting justice for this young boy. Again, at the time we advised that it was a approximately 5-year-old black male child who was found in that suitcase with no apparent signs of trauma. But we are thankful for all those tips that came in. And we do want the public's help, obviously, and we're thankful for their attention to this case. An autopsy was performed shortly after that, and again, there was no signs of physical trauma that we could detect. The autopsy also did not detect any signs of physical trauma that was readily available or seen. The autopsy listed the cause of death as electrolyte imbalance that caused a viral gastronitis. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't explain all that, but that was the cause of death listed on the autopsy. Also, at that time, toxicology reports did not reveal anything. There was nothing in the toxicology reports that would lead us to a cause of death. From the onset, detectives and crime scene technicians and Indiana State Police laboratory personnel utilized physical evidence in hopes of discovering, determining, and locating a suspect in this case. I want to emphasize that no crime scene evidence technologies were spared in this case, in this investigation by the Indiana State Police, including those available only through federal and outside agencies. So we utilized everything we could. Anything that was a possibility was looked into, and the department was 100% behind it. You know, any type of funding or anything like that that was needed, there was nothing spared in this case. As a result of physical evidence and the investigation itself, our detectives were able to identify 2 suspects in this case, and detectives were also able to identify the deceased child. On October 14th, based on information in this investigation, the Washington County Circuit Court issued 2 felony warrants, arrest warrants. One for Dawn Elaine Coleman, 40, of Shreveport, Louisiana. Another for Dewan, and I'm not sure about the pronunciation on this, Ludi Anderson. Dewan Ludi Anderson, 37, of Atlanta, Georgia, who is the mother of the deceased child. Those felony warrants were for neglect of a dependent resulting in death, a level 1 felony, as well as obstruction of justice, a level 6 felony. As a result of the information gathered in this investigation, Detective Matt Busick, who is the lead investigator, and Detective Chris Tucker, also from the Indiana State Police post here in Sellersburg, traveled to California. On October 19th, just a few days ago, Detective Busick located and arrested Dawn Coleman with the assistance of the San Francisco PD. This investigation is ongoing and continuing. As a result of information that's still being worked on in this investigation, the 2 also traveled to Los Angeles, the Los Angeles metro area after arresting Dawn Coleman. They were unable to locate, unsuccessful in locating Dewan Anderson. Where they believed she could possibly be. Again, the investigation continues, and as a result of information that's gathered on Tuesday, October 25th, the Washington County Circuit Court issued an arrest warrant for murder for the mother, Dewan Anderson. Again, units were unsuccessful in locating Dewan Anderson in the Los Angeles metro area, if I did not make that clear. On Tuesday, that arrest warrant was issued for murder for Dewan Anderson. Dewan Anderson is currently at large. Again, she is the mother of the deceased. She is described as a black female, approximately 5'5", around 135 pounds. In her last known photo, which I have here courtesy of the Louisville Metro Corrections Department, she had dark brown hair at that time, short, dark, very dark brown hair. Again, this is the last known official photo that we have of her. We're going to attempt to get better photos. We believe we can get a better photo. Again, she's from Georgia, and we're going to attempt to get a better photograph of her for you. Dewan Anderson is last known to have been in the Echo Park area of Los Angeles, California. But since this investigation began, she's traveled to several locations west, including Houston, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco. At this time, her whereabouts is unknown. So again, she's at large, and we're looking for the public's assistance in locating her. At this time, we can also identify, excuse me, identify the young man that was found in the suitcase. He was Cairo Ammar Jordan, Cairo Ammar Jordan was from Atlanta, Georgia, excuse me. He was 5 years old at the time of his death. And Cairo would have turned 6 this past Monday on October 24th. Again, Cairo Ammar Jordan, he was 5, from Atlanta, Georgia. The Georgia the Bureau of Investigations has assisted us in this case as well, and they have made contact with his family members after we were able to get more confirmation that the boy was in fact Cairo, which this investigation has a lot of twists and turns, a lot of information. It may sound like it just moves methodically based on the information I read. So please know that this probable cause affidavit that we'll hand out has a lot of information. That's still just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of information in this case. So realize that we're still not going to be able to answer every in and out of this investigation, but we're giving you as much as we possibly can, and I will give you a copy of that probable cause affidavit. That probable cause affidavit is for Coleman, who again was arrested in San Francisco just a few days ago. That's all the information I have at this time. Detective Busek, would you like to make any statements as far as? No. You're good? So, Ms. Coleman will be transported here to Indiana sometime within the next under 30 days. She will be here on Indiana soil to answer to those charges. Again, we need the public's help in locating the mother, DeJuan Anderson. So I've shown that photo. We'll have that photo for you to go out, and hopefully a better photo. But we desperately want the public's help in finding her and bringing her to justice. This whole case is all about justice for Cairo. That's the only thing this case has ever been about. So I know there's been lots of questions, and why don't we do this, and why don't we do that? The investigators have a lot of information, and they all have their reasons. But the main reason is the integrity of this case, and so that justice is served. And so even some things that may seem obvious, that why wouldn't you do this, there are reasons why they can't. And if we have done some of those suggestions that come in from the public and from the media, it's very possible we wouldn't be standing here today. We would have nobody in handcuffs. We would have nobody in jail right now, bringing them back for a trial. So just understand that there's always a reason. We don't take, obviously, anything lightly at all. It's a very serious investigation. Again, the department's held nothing back on this investigation for our detectives to be able to do what they need to do. So having said that, that's all the information I have at this time. We can take a few moments maybe for a few questions. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics. I've given you a lot, and I will give you the probable cause affidavit that you can look into.
Can you provide the spelling? Yeah, the
spelling. Sure. Again, I'll start at the beginning. The first arrest, Dawn, D-A-W-N, Elaine, E-L-A-I-N-E, Coleman, C-O-L-E-M-A-N. She was 40, from Shreveport, Louisiana. The mother and currently at large, DeJuan, D-E-J-U-A-N-E. The middle name spelling, I'm not positive on the pronunciation. The spelling is L-U-D-I-E. Last name of Anderson, common spelling A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N. 37, from Atlanta, Georgia. Cairo Ammar Jordan. C-A-I-R-O-A-M-M-A-R Jordan, J-O-R-D-A-N. And he is also from Atlanta, Georgia.
What's Dawn's relation?
Excuse me?
What is Dawn Coleman's relation?
Can't get into that right now, as far as I don't have all the specifics that we're going to get into, but not related physically that I know of, information that I have.
Do they have any ties to this area at all? Was she in Metro Corrections?
She was, that photo was provided by Louisville Metro Corrections. She was arrested by LMPD a few weeks prior to this case beginning. So My knowledge is they were only here temporarily. I'm sure you guys will do your due diligence and look into the background. And
What was she charged with? Do you know?
I don't have that information specifically in front of me. I believe it was some type of a theft charge, but I can't say that for sure.
Have you spoken with Cairo's father?
The Georgia, yes, detectives from this agency have spoken with the family members, and we also were assisted by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations.
When you arrested Dawn, what did she say about what happened?
Well, we don't get into any comments about that are made, any statements, any witness statements or suspect statements. But she was arrested. She was, interviewed as part of this investigation.
But what were they doing in Washington County?
Do you want to answer that? Do you want any issues with me just giving general background on that? Yeah, they weren't from this area. They were passing through. Again, when you guys do your due diligence and investigating backgrounds, you'll probably come up with some accurate conclusions as to why they may have been in this area. That would have been about the time of if I correct me, that would have been somewhere around the time of the Kentucky Derby in the springtime, but I'm not positive on that.
Do you know if she had any other children?
I do not have any information on other siblings or family members or any children for her.
So for the two charges, the obstruction of justice and the neglect of defendant resulting in death, if convicted, what's the maximum sentence?
Can you speak to that, or would you like to speak to that at all? They're both felonies. One is a level 1 felony, the other is a level 6 felony. So a level 1 felony is basically, it's the most serious other than murder, which is just listed as a felony. A level 1 felony is the most severe felony. So it's, I don't have the specifics right now as the maximum they could be sentenced to.
Have they offered any kind of suggestion or why they left the child in a suitcase and
Again, lots of information, and some information is in the probable cause affidavit. We're not going to speak to that this morning. Again, it is an ongoing investigation. We're still looking for one, but there's a lot of information that you will have access to in the probable cause affidavit. So we don't speak as an agency. It's our rule not to speak towards any statements or any motives. We don't speak to any of that.
Are both of the charges for both of the individuals the first?
An obstruction of justice, those charges stand for both. We have a murder warrant listed for DeJuan Anderson, the mother.
Can you address at all why this has become a murder case?
Again, just information that's gathered. The detectives have gone through a lot of information, tons of interviews, in the last few days, lots of information to come over and specialists to work with. So, as a whole, the information that they have makes our department and the prosecutor's office confident in a murder charge, and that's why that warrant's out there. Again, we have probable cause for that murder warrant. So the PC affidavit, again, has lots of information listed. You won't have the PC affidavit for Anderson because she is not in custody. That is not a public document. But the other PC affidavit has lots of information. Again, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. We don't put everything, a whole case, into a PC affidavit, just what's needed to establish probable cause.
Was there any information that Cairo could have been in danger or that authorities had been called on his mother before for his safety or anything like that?
I don't, at this time, have that information, but I don't have information that's saying that that's the case.
And was he enrolled in school?
I don't have that information at this time.
Speak about just the importance of getting the public's help. Obviously,
Right.
You all relied on tips from day one.
Right.
And just in locating, the suspect.
Right.
The child's mother.
Again, we had the special tip line. We asked for tips. We got thousands of tips. Unfortunately, none of them were successful. To my knowledge, Cairo, or to our knowledge, Cairo was never listed as a missing person. He was not listed as a missing child. Nobody ever reported him missing. So that would have helped, obviously, had that information been in a system someplace. So that's responsible. People who are responsible for his care and well-being have to do that. That's nothing we can control.
Because parts of these crimes cross state lines and the investigation obviously cross state lines, why has the state
April 16th of this year, 2022, a young child was found deceased in a very distinctive suitcase on Holder Road in southeast Washington County, near Pekin, Indiana. Holder Road is a dead-end road. It's very isolated, not heavily traveled at all. And that was back on April 16th again. At that time, when we were first notified of the child being discovered, very little information was there for our units, our detectives, our officers to work with. There were no witnesses, there were no family members, there were no acquaintances that came forward with any type of information. We only had what we had there at the scene, and that was it. As a result of physical evidence and the investigation itself, our detectives were able to identify 2 suspects in this case, and detectives were also able to identify the deceased child. On October 14th, based on information in this investigation, the Washington County Circuit Court issued 2 felony warrants, arrest warrants. One for Dawn Elaine Coleman, 40, of Shreveport, Louisiana. Another for Dewan, and I'm not sure about the pronunciation on this, Ludi Anderson. Dewan Ludi Anderson, 37, of Atlanta, Georgia, who is the mother of the deceased child. As a result of the information gathered in this investigation, Detective Matt Busick, who is the lead investigator, and Detective Chris Tucker, also from the Indiana State Police post here in Sellersburg, traveled to California. On October 19th, so just a few days ago, Detective Busick located and arrested Dawn Coleman with the assistance of the San Francisco PD. Again, the investigation continues, and as a result of information that's gathered on Tuesday, October 25th, the Washington County Circuit Court issued an arrest warrant for murder for the mother, Dewan Anderson. Dewan Anderson is currently at large. Again, she is the mother of the deceased. She is described as a black female, approximately 5'5", around 135 pounds. In her last known photo, which I have here courtesy of the Louisville Metro Corrections Department, she had dark brown hair at that time, short, dark, very dark brown hair. At this time, we can also identify, excuse me, identify the young man that was found in the suitcase. He was Cairo Ammar Jordan. Cairo Ammar Jordan was from Atlanta, Georgia. He was 5 years old at the time of his death. And Cairo would have turned 6 this past Monday on October 24th. Again, Cairo Ammar Jordan, he was 5, from Atlanta, Georgia.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Family of Cairo Jordan, the child found dead inside a suitcase off a rural southern Indiana road, is speaking out.
This after learning his fate less than 48 hours ago. Gladys Batista joins us live from our newsroom. Gladys?
Well, Vicki, Rick, this is a tragedy that has shocked our entire community. From the moment we learned a little boy was found dead in that suitcase, to then learning no one had come forward to identify him, to now 6 months later learning his name and who police believe is behind his death, his own mother. But of course, there is no greater pain than that of his family. Here are his paternal grandparents and great uncle in their own words. For 6 months, this entire southern Indiana community knew him as Angel, an unidentified little boy found dead inside this suitcase in these Washington County woods. But for the 5 years he was alive, his family knew him as Cairo Jordan.
Because he was very a joyous kind of person. He played a lot. He liked dinosaurs. The last I saw him,
Cairo's paternal grandparents, Kimberly and Vincent Jordan, alongside his great uncle Andrew Mayo,
still hasn't really sunken in.
reminisced on this smile.
Nice kid, sweet kid. And, you know, we ain't seen him in probably, a couple of years?
3 years.
Yeah. And she ran off with him, so.
But the trio says even throughout a custody battle, his mother, Deshawn Anderson, was in with Jordan's father in Atlanta, Georgia.
He wanted to try to work something out to where they could have him jointly. And the next thing I know, she disappeared. I did not think that it was uncommon at the time because she's always, you know, moving around.
They never could have imagined he was in danger.
She didn't show no signs of being a bad mother.
No, she didn't.
You know, that I see. You know, for this to happen, you know, it sort of blow your mind because, you know, she seemed like she was a good mother.
Anderson is now at the center of a manhunt as she faces several charges in his death, including murder.
It's one thing hurting a kid, then, you know, your own kid, it's, it don't make no sense.
Another woman, 40-year-old John Coleman, is also facing charges and is in custody in California. Police say fingerprints found on a trash bag that was inside the suitcase matched the two women. An affidavit also details chilling Facebook messages Anderson posted, referring to her son as a demonic child and talking about an exorcism. An autopsy found Jordan died from electrolyte imbalance as a result of a stomach bug. But as we now learn more about the life of the child this community honored in death, his family says they're grateful.
To see the people that come through in a different state that did not know him from a can of paint, it shows what humanity really is.
Anderson is believed to be somewhere in California. She's been seen in Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco. Meanwhile, Coleman will be extradited to Indiana within the next month to face charges in Jordan's death. Live from the newsroom, Gladys Bautista, WOKY News.
Thank
you. Thank you, Judge. All right.
From a man who found the body of a young boy dead in a suitcase in southern Indiana.
The man was hunting for mushrooms near Pekin in Washington County, and that's when he found a hard suitcase, and you can see this print of Las Vegas on the outside.
As police are still now working to identify the body, new tonight at 6 o'clock, Tom Lally from our sister station in Louisville takes us deep into the woods where the man made that horrible discovery.
Jeff Meredith calls this place heaven. It's the woods outside his home. He says he can sit for hours every day and just watch it. But on one day, April 16th, he found something out of place. It was a boy, and now it's his mission to find that boy's name.
When I first saw that little feller, immediately I felt that he was telling me, help me. I need help.
It was late that Saturday. Jeff Meredith was out in the woods of his property looking for mushrooms.
And I decided to cross over and mushroom hunt on this side here. And I come up on the body.
The body of a boy in a suitcase 80 feet off the road. Jeff thought to call police, but he told me he'd feel like a fool if they got there and it was just a suitcase, so he opened it.
It's wrong. God, is it wrong? In every way.
Nearly 2 weeks later, it's tough for him to get close to that spot again.
It bothers me, but it ain't about me. It's about that little boy that they threw away like it's a piece of trash. That's what bothers me worse than anything in the world, because I've got 5 grandbabies.
3 of them are around that boy's age. He's a proud grandpa who cared for his kids so that they could one day raise their own.
It's the blessing of life to watch them develop into the little human beings that they will be later on.
One little human will never get to be more. Jeff's learning to accept he can't control that, but he hopes to convince someone to come forward with information on the death and, most importantly, a name.
He deserves to have a name, you know? Just like you and I, we've got a name, and we want a name put on our stone after we're gone. And he deserves that. So if anybody out there knows anything, please come forward. Because that little 5-year-old boy needs you now more than ever to give him his dignity back to him.
I want to get you up to date on where the investigation stands right now. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is helping state police here in Indiana try to find out who the little boy is. State police have resources to help in the investigation, including a forensic artist who can do facial reconstruction. The autopsy did not reveal the cause of death. So investigators now are going to rely on toxicology reports to see if the child perhaps had any drugs or other substances in his body.
Now to our top stories. New details today about the case of the little boy's body found in a suitcase in rural Washington County, Indiana. Indiana State Police announcing Cairo Ammar Jordan was the boy found back in April. In a news conference earlier this morning, ISP detailed how they identified the boy in the suitcase and, more importantly, the main suspects in the case, including his mother. On April 16th of this year, a mushroom hunter came across this suitcase on an isolated road in Washington County, Indiana. When officers responded, they found a young black child inside with no visible cause of death. For months, there were no witnesses or family members who came forward to claim the boy, and no matches to any missing children. Police took in thousands of tips, but they led to nothing. Then, finally, a match with the fingerprints on trash bags found inside the suitcase, leading police to 2 suspects. Today, that break in the case, ISP identifying 2 women, one of whom is in custody, the other is still on the run. Tom Lally joins us from Salem this evening. Tom.
Grace, I want to put this little boy's death into perspective with what it meant here in the community. And I want to show you his grave. It is surrounded by flowers and toys. These weren't left behind after we learned this boy's name. They were when he was laid to rest just a short while ago here by the community. This headstone partially funded by Salem itself, the town. And it reads, "A beloved little boy known but to God." And Jeff Meredith, the man who found that boy not too long ago, just 6 months ago, said he was fearful that he would go the rest of his life without ever knowing this boy's name. But he said he believed in a promise made to him by Indiana State Police.
I'll never forget that words that state trooper told me. There's not going to be a moment lost that we won't be looking and trying to help this little feller. And he promised me, and he came through, that he would find who done this.
At this time, we can also identify, identify the young man that was found in the suitcase. He was Cairo Ammar Jordan.
Cairo Jordan? Man, that sounds so good. Cairo Jordan.
The boy Jeff found dead and in a suitcase just off this road, where a small white flag still marks the spot. Of course, today's news only bittersweet. The woman facing murder charges still at large.
Dwan Ludi Anderson, 37, of Atlanta, Georgia, who is the mother of the deceased child.
The probable cause affidavit shows Anderson sent Facebook messages claiming her son was a demon who tried to harm her. She wrote to an Indiana pastor saying she believed he was actually 100 years old and she used blood for some kind of exorcism. In reality, he was a defenseless 5-year-old boy who an entire community rallied around, and Indiana State Police were able to identify.
It feels like the weight of the world went off my shoulder, because I got his name now. I did not want to go out of this world without knowing that little boy's name. Because when I first saw that little feller's face, it was like he was screaming help to me. The only help I know to do is to call 911. And that's what I did.
And it worked.
Yeah. Thank God for the Indiana State Troopers.
And you can see on the headstone, there's enough space to put Cairo's full name, Cairo Ammar Jordan, which we now know. And I actually talked with the cemetery. They say it'll be there as soon as possible. Live in Salem, Tom Lally, WHAS 11, on your side.
Wow, this case just blows me away. Thank you so much, Pat B. Thanks for coming. I hope you're doing well today. I appreciate you for subbing. Does anybody got anything they want to add? What do y'all think about this mother that says that he was demonic? Y'all, if y'all know her whereabouts or see her whereabouts or anything, please get with authorities. She needs to go to jail. The mother really needs to go to jail. So thanks, thoughts and prayers. Everyone remember to keep the family in the prayer. Makes me think that she was demonic herself. We know a lot of stuff that's happening in Atlanta, Georgia. We had discussed before. We got a friend who brings out a lot of that awareness from over there out too. Yes. Y'all know about how evil my stepmom is, but I never told y'all that she actually came from Georgia herself. So, a lot of things seems to be a common theme. Either demonically possessed, for sure. They did not deserve the child. If they didn't want the child had family members. She could have easily just left the child with the family members. Could not stand to be around him or anything. There's a lot of others who was there that would have loved to have him. But I wondered, she said she used blood to try to get him exercised. How did she use the blood? What was she doing to him? Yes, they are. And that could have easily been, she could have easily been doing other things as well. We won't never know. That's pretty far distance when he was living in Georgia. Take him all the way to Indiana, dump his body off like he was nothing. What gets me is they saying that it looks like he had gastroenteritis, which is a medical condition. Okay, it's it's an illness. He was sick, a virus. Why did I not call 911 if he collapsed? Anything. Why they had to put his body into a suitcase and take him all the way to Indiana? Yeah, I'm talking about before, when she left, she didn't really want him and she kept thinking he was demon possessed. Why did she could have left on her own? She didn't have to take that little boy with her. She could have left him there and he'd probably be okay. But tell him what kind of foods this kid ate. Or tell him what kind of, anything that could have made him have stomach issues. This woman was horrible. It's horrible. And I hope they catch her too. Well, her truth is that, he was demonic. He was sick. He needed medical attention. You did not deserve that precious baby that you were given. You did not deserve him. He deserved better than you, really. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and close this right now. Thank y'all for coming. God bless y'all. This story pulls to the heartstrings of everyone, I'm sure. And I'm glad they found out what his name is. I'm glad that he got to find out what he is before he leaves this earth. Cairo Ammar Jordan is his name. 5-year-old boy was found in Indiana in a suitcase, where the boy was originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. See y'all again. Thank you so much, Mac B. Thanks, everybody. Love and prayers. Don't forget to give hearts. And there you go. The bucket list you did. Yeah, the beautiful name there. I loved his smile. He's a beautiful little boy. Perfect teeth. I love that smile. So God bless each and every one of y'all. And we'll see y'all again soon. Okay? Thank y'all so much. God bless. Thank you so much, Jackie. You got a bucket. The new family members come. You see that? He's giving hearts. Your whole family is giving hearts. Sorry that you had to endure the loss of your precious relative, this little boy. God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all.